Hello, welcome to Thor Talk, the show all about Marvel's resident god of thunder. On this episode of Thor Talk, there will be spoilers for Avengers Infinity War, as we try to determine how Valkyrie, Korg, and Miek survived, or if they even did. So, if you've seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers, don't go away from this episode of Thor Talk.
I am Thor the Thunderer, son of Odin, prince of Asgard, and this world is under my protection.
So, at the very beginning of Avengers Infinity War, Thanos and his children decimate the Asgardians, definitively killing Heimdall and Loki. Fair enough. Loki and Heimdall are beloved characters who have gotten their chance to shine in the sun with several movies. But what about the newcomers from Thor Ragnarok like Valkyrie, Korg, and Miek? Kevin Feige has already confirmed that Marvel has plans for Korg and Miek, and we all know that Valkyrie is not going away anytime soon. But seriously, what happened to them? They were certainly on the ship at the end of Thor Ragnarok, and it seems unlikely that all three would abandon Thor without seeing to it that all the Asgardian refugees were brought to safety. Fortunately for them, they have an out, as Thor says that Thanos only killed half of his people, meaning that Valkyrie, Korg, and Miek are likely among the living half. This makes sense, as Thanos' whole goal is not to kill everyone, but half of everyone, as he did with Gamora's people. So, maybe Thanos only killed half of the people on board, but everyone on the ship seemed pretty dead, and even if they weren't, Thanos uses the Power Stone to blow up the remains of the ship, and the Guardians only rescue Thor from the wreckage. We know that Thor thinks that Thanos only killed half of his people, but it's also very unlikely that half the Asgardians survived both Thanos and the destruction of their ship. There is no indication that there were any escape pods used, and even if there were, it is very unlikely that Korg, Miek, or Valkyrie would abandon Thor as he fought the Mad Titan. So, how did Thanos manage to kill only half of the people when he destroyed their entire ship? Where did the half of Asgard's people go? The answer is quite simple. He cut their ship in half. I present to you the Statesman. This is the Asgardians' ship. Now you may notice that this ship is quite large. It also has one very distinct feature: two large structures pointing out on either side of the ship. Now, if we look closely at the Statesman at the beginning of Avengers Infinity War, the ship has clearly been cut in half, as the part of the ship where Thor was and where Thanos slaughtered the Asgardians only has one of these structures, and it seems to be smaller. You can even see what appears to be the second half of the Statesman floating next to it, as when Thanos fires at it, it puts up a shield almost identical to the one that Thor's half of the ship put up. So, Korg, Miek, and Valkyrie are likely all with that half of the Asgardians on that half of the Statesman. This explains why they weren't even in the movie as well, as the movie opens with the ship already cut in half, and cutting between the two halves of the ship just to see that Valkyrie was alive would likely cut some of the tension that took place on Thor's half of the Statesman. And there was a lot of tension on Thor's half of the Statesman. Still, the Guardians of the Galaxy never found the living half of the ship when they went and found Thor. My guess is that they either had working thrusters which allowed them to escape, or the explosion caused by the Power Stone knocked them away from the debris. Either way, they had no reason to believe that Thor was alive, and no reason to stick around. So, Thor still has a people to rule, and Korg is still alive. Well, that's all for this episode of Thor Talk. If you want to keep up with Thor Talk and all Thor-related news, follow Thor Talk on Instagram at Thor Talk. You can also keep up with and support Thor Talk by simply subscribing. Once again, I'd like to formally state that all art and videos owned by its respected companies, and I own none of it. With that said, see you next time on Thor Talk, where...
You'll be holding breathless wonder.